Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is January the 23rd. So, interesting days. You know, they've had to sit there. I'm talking about the defense. If you're hearing that banging, it is our little cat Ellie, who is beating the bejesus out of a little stuffed pink flamingo that is filled with catnip. So, just so you're aware. So it's been interesting, right? Because the defense has basically just had to sit there and listen as this incredibly incriminating, very decisive, very clear, very easy to understand presentation is being made by the House managers for the Democrats. So it's interesting energy, all right. Okay, so just one thing I want to get to before I kind of delve into that is, I am always sort of nagging at you people to keep your thoughts really, really positive. Like, do not focus on the fear. Do not focus on the worry. Keep those thoughts really positive. Because, as you know, if you're sending out intentions, but you're really functioning from a place of fear, the intention almost gets neutralized by the fact that there's just so much fear, okay? And this is one of the things that actually gives Donald Trump a lot of his power. So, thoughts, as we know them, energy as we know it, isn't good and bad. It isn't negative and positive. It's simply energy. And energy attracts and attaches to like energy. So part of just energetically what happens with Trump is that, first of all, you have that one group of people who are like a cult. I mean, they adore him. They worship him. It doesn't matter. They're going to be excited and rah, rah, rah Trump, okay? Then you have that other group of people who don't like him. They're scared of him. They think he's crazy. They don't like what he's doing to the country. Okay, you get it. But what you have is basically a whole lot of energy that just keeps circling around Trump, Donald Trump, President Trump, Trump. And it creates, sort of a pull. And so it's really important to just keep those thoughts positive and centered and clear. For those of you who are interested, yesterday on my Soulprint Insights channel, I posted a video about the thoughts behind the thoughts and how they impact the thought. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? If you have a thought and it's positive, but the overwhelming energy behind it is fear or negativity, that is what becomes amplified. So if you're interested, pop on over to Soulprint Insights. And it's video released yesterday, and it's called literally Thoughts Behind Your Thoughts. Okay, so let's just take a bit of a look at what's going on. I'm just sort of curious as to how everybody is coping with the trial. So, how's Trump feeling about it? How's McConnell feeling about it? How are the House managers feeling about it? How's Pelosi? So, we're just going to find out, shall we? Come on down. I have a question. Okay, so we're wanting to delve into kind of the behind the scenes feelings, motivations, concerns as to how this is going. Day 2 in the trial. I'm doing this in the morning, so it'll be a couple hours from now, I guess, and day 3 is going to start. And from what I understand, today is about abuse of power and the law. So, here we go. Current energy surrounding the trial. Current energy surrounding trial. Current energy surrounding the trial. Okay, so when I laid this card down, the first thing I heard was, to the victor go the spoils. So I think at this point, we're not really sure yet who the victor is going to be, okay? But what this does also talk about is the fact that this represents the house managers, okay? Nadler and Schiff and everybody else. So what this is telling me is that right now, in this moment of time, they have the upper hand, they have the leverage, and frankly, they're very, very pleased with how well it's going. The other thing that's really interesting is that, I've talked before about those quiet Republicans, the ones that you don't see on television, the ones who are behind the scenes. They're not running around screaming, Trump's the Messiah. They're the quiet ones that are sitting kind of in the back and not saying much. Those ones, the ones who really haven't been paying attention to what was going on in the House impeachment inquiry, they are kind of waking up and going, oh my, we should have been paying closer attention, because you know what? Not only did what we think happened not actually happened, but they're building a very strong case. And more importantly, I'm starting to recognize that I could be sacrificed in this process in trying to hold up the fool in chief. So there is definitely some energy that is starting to shift. It's moved from kind of that everybody's neutral and benign to, wait a minute, we're actually absorbing and hearing what we're saying. And, there's those 10 or so Republicans who take up all the oxygen in the room, but they're not actually reflecting what I'm thinking and feeling now that I'm starting to hear some of the facts in a very, very cohesive presentation. Such a good presentation, in fact, that apparently yesterday evening, Lindsey Graham approached Adam Schiff and shook his hand, and basically, I think it was something like he said, like, you're very well spoken, you're doing a very good job. Now, that's not going to change Lindsey Graham, but it does tell you that they received more than they were expecting. I think that they were not expecting this whole situation to be they weren't expecting it to be laid out in such a clear-cut, easy-to-follow manner. And there's definitely fortunes that are changing as a result of this. So, again, is this the fortune of the Democrats? Is this the fortune of the Trumps? Is it the fortune of the Republicans? Either way, it's going to end up with heartbreak for some and pure abundance for the other side. So I think it's safe to say at this point, energetically, the abundance is going to the Democrats, to the victors. Go the spoils, okay? And this is an indicator that the Republicans are starting to recognize the fact that, you know what? We could be in trouble here. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get removed from office. Energetically, I'm not there yet. I'm not clear on what's happening, and I'm not going to give you false hope. But what I will say is that Republican Party is not quite in lockstep with McConnell, as McConnell would like you to believe. They're just not. Oh my, they're really not. Okay. So what you have, this goes over here actually. Okay, so what you have is literally that presidency that was built on a shaky foundation, that Republican grouping of senators. I'm thinking specifically sort of the Tea Party and that sort of energy. It's all starting to fall down. It's all starting to crumble. And what is happening as more information is coming out, and not only the senators, but honestly, a lot of people are paying attention to this trial. There are some Republicans who are like, good God, can we just not go back to being what Republicans are supposed to be? Whatever that is. I don't know. They're all about the budget and spending. Whatever the Republicans stand for, okay? Aside from, of course, the obvious of, trying to keep women under their thumb and have no rights to their bodies, etc. But I'm not going to go on a rant. So there are some of them who are going, good gracious, we have got to get this back onto an even keel, because otherwise the change is going to be heartbreaking. What becomes of the Republican Party for Republicans is going to be heartbreaking. And as far as we want to go back, that's not going to happen, because first of all, you can't cram spilt milk back into the container. You cannot erase 3 years of lies, belligerence, abuses of power, not only from Trump, but from the administration. You cannot erase the fact that people have been bold-faced lying to their constituents, to the television cameras, and to anybody else who would listen for 3 years. So they can want to go back all they want. I don't see that happening. What I do see happening is endings, collapses, things that were not stable, not secure, not safe. They are going to get knocked down, because the conversation that is happening now is really starting to shift dynamics. It's going to be, I know they did release a poll last night, and the number of people who wanted, I believe it was wanted documents and witnesses, has again increased, and that represents something like, I think they said it was, I think it was like 72% of people want witnesses and documents, but something like, it was like 50% or so of Republicans who wanted documents and witnesses. So the energy is starting to shift as the communications are being delivered with clarity, with an even-handedness. And, the Democrats are not up there ranting and raving and screaming like lunatics the way, that other side seems to like to do. So there's definitely an energy that things are starting to shift, and that hard decisions are going to have to be made by some of these Republicans, and they're facing a very difficult choice, right? Because if they do what's right, they're almost like they know that to some degree, some of them really do risk having to walk away from their career or their job. But there is the hope that at least some of them will have some, there's little Miss Ellie chasing her flamingo. Hey, sweetie. Some of them are going to be sacrificed, frankly. Some of them, their constituents are not going to forgive them if they don't do the right thing. Certainly, some of those senators in blue states or purple states are going to have a very, very fine line to walk. And some of them, like Susan Collins, I don't think it matters how fine a line she walks. She's not going to recover from this. All right. Information is going to just continue to come flooding out. Not only is there going to be information coming out during the trial, and again, remember, for those of us who have been paying attention for 3 years and who watched the impeachment hearings, we know this story. We've heard this story, but for a lot of people, this is the first time they're actually zeroing in on this story. And so as these revelations are made, it really is causing some people to go, oh my goodness, what have we not been paying attention to? What is going on? And what is this guy doing? There is also a feeling that more information is going to come out from other sources. So could this be legal rulings? Could this be really brilliant journalism? Could this be, the release of documents that the government was trying to block? Oh, and so this was the interesting thing, right? Yesterday in Davos, Trump made the statement, and you wait, it's going to show up. If not today, it'll show up tomorrow in the House manager's case. I am positive. He literally stood there and said, well, I think it's going fine, and I'm very pleased with my lawyers and how everything is going, because they don't have the information. They don't have the documents, because we have it all. So why don't you just wear a flashing red sign that says, I am obstructing? Like, why don't you? Why don't you just flat out admit to the world from Davos that, in fact, I have done everything in my power. I have used every trick in the book. I have used people, situations, whatever it took to keep the information secreted. Well, I guess he did. So we'll see how quickly it takes for that to show up in the trial. Make no mistake, it is going to be a heavy lift to convince that many Republicans that he needs to be removed from office. But at this point, it's definitely looking like the momentum from the people of the country, is going to really, really push them into having to really back down and have those witnesses and have some of those documents. And they're not going to want to do it because Trump is screaming he wants this wrapped up. McConnell wants this thing shoved under the carpet as fast as it can go. But even he, I think, is starting to realize that, he is up against a bit of a formidable foe. Those House managers know what they're doing, and they're doing their job brilliantly. But so we're not at a place yet where I'm prepared to say, well, you know what, you actually just might be able to get him out of office. I'm actually more curious to see what's going to happen after some of the witnesses and documentation are presented. It's going to be interesting to kind of see the games that Mitch McConnell starts playing if behind the scenes he doesn't have the votes. What does he do if he doesn't have 67 votes? How is he going to drag this out or try to delay it while they, are pushing to move this thing forward, but he needs to slow it down and put the brakes on it because he's not going to have the votes? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that situation. And the other thing too is, so what if McConnell gets 63 votes to remove him from office? Okay, so that's not enough. He's not going to be found guilty, and he's not going to be removed from office. But nor is it a landslide victory, nor is it complete exoneration, nor is it the Republicans have done nothing wrong in supporting the insanity. So there's a lot riding for good old Mitch. And I think he's starting to realize that, you know what, it's going to be a hard go to get this ship out of this very dangerous water into something that is calmer. And in part, let us not forget, part of the reason it's not going to be calmer is because once Trump gets back onto American soil, I don't know how long he's going to be in Switzerland. I imagine another day or two. I have no idea. But once he gets back onto American soil, you just know the tweets are going to start. He's going to be ranting and raving. He's going to be acting out. And the more of that behavior, the more people start to wonder, what is he so scared of? Why is he hiding all of this? What is it that we haven't been paying attention to because we were busy, working and paying the rent and getting our kids through college and enjoying grandchildren? Oh, wait a minute. Let's focus here. Let's figure out what's going on. And so I'm seeing a lot of that energy, and I think it's going to become clearer that the Republicans really do have a bit of a task ahead of them. Now, there are still those in the background, okay? Those closest to Trump, sort of that cabal, that grouping of people who literally are going to see nothing. They are not going to do one thing that you would expect in terms of senatorial behavior. They're not going to listen. They're not going to vote against the party line, because they are determined to save the emperor. But I don't think ultimately it's going to work all that well, because secrets come out, information comes out. I'm actually thinking this could represent in this reading Adam Schiff. It is somebody who is communicating extraordinarily well. He's on very solid ground, and he is holding his position of power comfortably and easily. Okay, so, and he is systematically uncovering those things that were kept secret, those things that were being hidden. He is starting to bring them to light, and the kind of the craziness of what Trump's defenders are saying is starting to disintegrate, because, how can you say on the one hand he has done nothing wrong, when on the other hand there are all these film clips of him saying, of course Ukraine should investigate the Bidens, and so should China while we're at it. And of course I have held back all of the documents and evidence because I don't want people to hear it. It's going to start crumbling, right? Because at some point you get enough people out there paying attention, common sense kicks in, and people start to go, wait a minute, this doesn't pass the smell test. This doesn't make any sense. This is not logical. So I think the Republicans are just starting to understand that, wait a minute, you know what? This is not going to be the rubber stamp slam dunk that we thought it would be. Are they going to win? I don't know. But for right now, they're just starting to wake up to the fact that, wait a minute, they're doing such a fabulous job bringing this out. And frankly, when you look at Trump's legal team, they have been, I think the only person who could maybe possibly say with a straight face that they're doing a fabulous job is Trump, because he, of course, is a chronological liar, right? I mean, he just lies about everything, for God's sakes. So he's probably the only one who could actually make that statement with a straight face. I think if you look at Mitch McConnell's face, he is not glowing with pride of how the Trump defense team is handling it. And he is even concerned about what that Cipollone guy how he is actually representing the White House and the lies that he is literally prepared to speak in front of a Supreme Court justice. Okay, so for right now, the promise of the defense just smashing to smithereens the case that is being put on by the Democrats, that wish, that dream is starting to fade a little bit. There is a lot going on behind the scenes. There is a lot of friction. The lawyers are arguing with Trump. Trump is screaming back at the lawyers, do something, do something. I don't like all this bad press. McConnell is saying, for the love of God, would you guys please stop bold-faced lying in front of a judge? It's going to make us look really bad, okay? There's like, and other Republicans are saying, what is going on? Why are we taking this straight party line votes when clearly the half of the story we do know is so incriminating? We are now obligated to continue to unravel it. So there's all kinds of like stuff going on behind the scenes. And the Democrats are holding their own. They are staying calm. They are secretly very, very pleased. They're very happy. And they really like that they're getting support from Democrats and Democrat constituents, the people in their areas, the people that they represent. So it's going really, really well for them. And they are very pleased. And they feel like they just may be able to swing enough votes to actually get the documentation and the witnesses. They feel as if their goal is not as sort of far-fetched as maybe it seemed even a week ago. And there's a lot there. There is a lot that is going to come out. And who comes riding along but the King of Swords, talking about ultimately justice winning. Yeah. Okay. So the White House is definitely going to be under scrutiny. They're starting to realize that this joyride they have been on could very much be coming to an end, and either way they recognize for sure that they're in a position where they're really, oh my goodness, where they're really, really going to have to be defending themselves. And I think some of them haven't quite figured out exactly why they need to defend Trump. Alrighty. Illumination, lots of things coming to light, lots of people getting wound up and upset, more information, more, documentation. It's not going to stand up to the light well, and people are going to start getting really agitated. Okay, so I think that wraps up today's video. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that this channel continues to give you some comfort, some reassurance, some clarity. That is my goal and my objective. Again, for those of you who are interested, pop over to the Soulprint Insights channel and just give a listen to the thoughts behind the thoughts. It's an important video because it not only has to do with this political situation, but it really does have to do with your thoughts and what you're creating and manifesting in your life. So if you haven't had the chance to scoot over there, please feel free. I invite you to do so. All right, that's it. That's all. Thank you again so much for your support. It just means the world to me. So take care. Be well. And I'll see you really soon. Bye.